Alright, today I'm reviewing the Ibanez Alpha A527. This is the new modern body shape from Ibanez, and I have to say it's way better than I thought it would be. It's not perfect, but I am impressed. I've recorded a 2-song release with this just to get some experience with it, and so I'll be sharing my thoughts and experience with this guitar so far. I'll also be making a video comparing this to the Lorada soon. And by the way, this video is not sponsored. This is my guitar, I bought it, so let's jump right in. Let's hear how it sounds first. Alright, we'll cover more about the sound later. Right now we're going to talk about the quality and feel of this guitar. So none of the controls feel cheap, nothing has failed or broken so far. And the neck has that kind of coating the Prestiges have too, so the neck feels really good. I do wish it had a volute, just a little thing I like. The locking tuners are really good, they work as you would think they do. I'm a huge fan of locking tuners on every guitar in general. And the tuning stability on this guitar is better than I thought. And the locking tuners do help, but this does have a plastic nut, so I was expecting the strings to bind and all that. But strangely, this works really well. It stays in tune really well. And it's a surprise because this RGA21P1PB has a plastic nut. And I do love this guitar. It doesn't quite stay in tune as well as the Alpha does. And I don't know enough about the plastic nut to know if this is a lower quality or what's going on. Now on the other end of the neck, the spoke wheel truss rod adjustment is an excellent feature. The humidity over here has been up and down a lot, temperatures go up and down, and I've been able to adjust the truss rod just so easily. It's not the biggest deal having to remove a truss rod cover from other guitars, but it is time you still have to spend doing that. And if you have pets or children, you got to make sure they don't eat the screws. This is just so convenient. You can get any old thing like an Allen key or something and quickly adjust the truss rod and you're set. A very convenient feature, especially if you're going from place to place with different temperature, humidity conditions. You won't always have a workbench available to you. Now talking about the controls some more, they are in a great position, except the Fishman voice adjustment switch is in a pretty terrible position. It is so easy to just accidentally flick the switch to the middle position when you're reaching for the volume pot, and I turn my volume down when I'm not playing guitar out of habit. So you reach down, you accidentally bring your hand back up to find the pot, and then you hit the middle switch. So kind of a miss there. I would have liked to see the switch in a different place. I've only done it once or twice when sitting down in my quiet controlled environment where I'm recording guitar. But in a high adrenaline environment, I absolutely am going to be accidentally hitting the switch so many times. Back to the positives of the control layout though. The selector switch, it's not quite parallel to the strings. It is at a bit of an angle. So that actually really helps in picking the pickup position you want. The volume pot is nice and far away enough. I do find my fingers rest on the pickup here. They've never hit the volume pot. And then the tone knob is nice and far away, and it does take a bit of effort to turn. It's not like stiff or anything like that, but it's not going to accidentally turn itself down, so no worries there. Moving on to the bridge was easily adjustable enough. If I have to do any bigger adjustments though, it's, I don't know, it's starting to get kind of iffy. I don't have my action the super lowest, like I didn't quite get to that 1 millimeter of height at the 14th fret. I've already bottomed out some of these height saddles here. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, that's entirely possible. But for now, it's well enough. I am in A standard tuning, so everything is a whole step down, and I'm using 10s, just for reference. Also, if you're using an Ibanez Prestige tool, there is no Allen key that's small enough to adjust this bridge. Thankfully, one comes with this guitar, but it's really small, easy to use, so watch out for that. However, I do have to say, I love that there's a string-through option for this bridge. You can top load it too, and that's fine and all, but I love the feel of it. Something about how the strings feel when it's strung through the body. It's just so great. Now, the output jack on the back is pretty cool. It doesn't get in your way whether you're playing sitting down in the classical position, standing like this, playing standing up. but the strap, where the strap button is and everything, the strap does rub against the cable. It doesn't rub against the cable enough to break it or bend it, but it does make contact. So that does seem kind of like a bit of a miss. Now let's move on to the playability of this guitar, because this has a pretty interesting neck on it. To summarize everything, this guitar loves to be played sitting down in the classical position the best. This is where it's most comfortable, you have the easiest time accessing all the frets, the neck makes the most sense with its neck profile. And I'll get more into the neck profile in a minute, but I do want to talk about real quick this forearm carve. It looks really odd, but it is very comfortable, especially playing the guitar like this. It makes a whole lot of sense. And then also when you're playing sitting down, the belly carve being shallow and extensive does lend itself to being held like this. Everything is at the right angle you want it to be. It's a very pleasant playing experience. And also the guitar is nice and relatively light and pretty balanced. No neck dive or anything. Now let's talk about the neck, the parallel wizard neck. And this is an interesting one. It does take a little bit of getting used to. At least for me it did. It has a uniform width across the whole neck, but the neck profile is asymmetrical. It's actually thicker on the bass side and thinner on the treble side, so that's interesting. I typically prefer necks either to be like a thin C or to actually be thinner on the bass side. So this took a bit of getting used to, but it does play better than I thought it would, especially because when I was first reviewing the specs online, I thought the radius wouldn't be flat enough for my personal preference. But that's not the case. The width of the neck being uniform is unnoticeable in the best way. You never feel like the neck is too thin or too thick anywhere on the neck, whether you're up high or down low. You are thinking more about the neck profile, and I find when you have a relaxed fretting hand, it tends to guide your thumb to where it should be on the neck, for the thumb behind the neck playing style. As soon as you start really grabbing, applying pressure with your thumb, that's when it starts to get really uncomfortable. So it encourages you to not do that. It is still possible to have your thumb around the neck like this. There is a pleasing kind of shoulder curve on the bass side. It almost feels like it pushes or holds your thumb in the right place, as long as your hand is relaxed again. Now let's talk about the neck heel. It absolutely had to be this way, or else it would be really awful trying to reach the upper frets. But it still kind of is a little goofy trying to hit the 23rd and 24th fret. You could see they really wanted to have this line from the upper horn to the bottom horn here. They really wanted that. And so because of that, the body kind of gets in the way of the upper two frets. They're not impossible to reach, as you can see, but I do have to still mentally think about, okay, I'm going to go up to those frets when I am. Otherwise, my hand isn't quite in the right place. Especially with this unique neck profile. Those two things really need to make me think, okay, I need to position my hand just right, or else I'm not going to be in the right place, and you could see I'll have a bit of trouble there. So this isn't enough to make me not want to use this guitar for leads, especially playing up high, but it is something to think about. Now more about the body. I mentioned it's really great when you're sitting playing in the classical position like this. You can even play it like this, just sit back, play like that. As long as your forearm's on it, it does balance nice enough. But playing standing up, I find it flares out because of the arm carve here being so far out. And then because this is such a deep yet shallow belly cut, it just flares out like this. And that is kind of annoying. Like, I know as long as the guitar is playable, it shouldn't really matter too much how it looks. But just know in the heat of the moment, the bottom of the body is going to flare out. It might look a little bit goofy. I don't know if that matters to you. And then finally too, you have to make sure you have a guitar strap that can be very short. This guitar likes to be held higher up. After all, it is encouraging thumb behind the neck playing style. And because of just how the strap buttons are, the way the guitar is shaped, you do need an even shorter strap than you normally would. Now let's talk about how this guitar sounds. So this guitar, it sounds great acoustically when you're playing it. It feels nice and resonant when you're playing it. It does have the Fishman Fluence modern pickups, and it does absolutely sound like it has Fishman Fluence modern pickups. I'm not saying every guitar with these pickups sound like that, but this is a prime example of a guitar that does. And it sounds good. I'm not saying that sounds bad, but it's a little surprising because of how resonant and special this guitar feels. You would think it would sound, I don't know, warmer, a little different. Again, I'm not disappointed. A lot of awesome music has been made with these pickups. It's somehow surprising and not surprising at the same time. Having the 3 voices instead of just the 2, it is useful. You do have that single or split coil sound. You can use it for whatever tones you need to have that sound. I'm wondering, is it absolutely necessary? And for my uses, no. I can get by with using voice 1 for pretty much everything I do. So having this switch down here that's a little bit in the way, that gives me whole other options I don't personally need. It's kind of a miss for me, but I can see how this would actually be really useful for a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the comments now jumping down saying they need 700 tones per song or whatever. And you know, if you can use that and it works for you, power to you. These are tools to make music, and if that works for you, that's great. So this guitar does sound like it has that typical Fishman tone, at least to my ears anyway. I'll demonstrate how this sounds in isolation with a clean tone, a rhythm tone, and a lead tone, just for the sake of completeness. But I think it also is pretty helpful to show how the instrument sounds in a complete mix too. So after this, I'm gonna show you an original song I made with this. First, the tones in isolation. All right, and now time for the complete song, the full mix, and this is from my 2-song release. So I hope you like it. Alright, time for my overall thoughts on this guitar. First, let's talk about the looks. When I first saw this guitar, I thought it looked pretty cool. And then I got used to the looks, I thought it looked okay. And now I'm back to thinking it looks pretty cool. It is an inspiring looking guitar. I find myself picking it up to play it, to blink around. Now, is this a good guitar? I would say yes, it is. This is Ibanez's attempt at stepping into the ultra-modern world, and I'm pleased to say they delivered a solid instrument. Are there areas where they can improve? Yes. Fret access, how the guitar hangs off of you, the cable contacting the strap. I'm excited to see how they iterate on this guitar, this line in general. But this guitar was good enough for me to be able to write and record a 2-song release fairly quickly. There were no technical problems, there were no injuries, things didn't go crazy out of tune. I only had to set it up once when I first got the guitar. Making that music release did delay this review some, but I did want to get some experience so I could give you guys some good information. Is this guitar worth it? Well, if you want a modern extended range guitar with the multiscale, and you like Ibanez, then yes. I was surprised at how high quality this guitar was. You do have to want the asymmetric neck profile where the bass side is a little thicker, and you do have to want a guitar that is this shape. Otherwise, this instrument might not be the right one for you. You're just going to be miserable trying to adapt to it. Will this be my number 1 7-string? Maybe not. There are 2 things holding me back from saying definitely yes. I have other 7 strings with Evertunes and better fret access, although they are much heavier than this. And I do have to say too that the tuning stability again on this is very good, and I had a very pleasant experience recording with it. But the neck profile, while cool, while playable, I still feel the most comfortable on a thin C or something a bit more standard. It's not awful, it's not unplayable. I do enjoy playing this guitar, but it is worth mentioning. And the top few frets not being quite as accessible as everything else is a nitpick, but it can be an annoyance that'll add up over time. Just something to think about, especially if you're considering this guitar. This guitar does feel best sitting down classical position, as I've mentioned. So if you do most of your guitar playing like this, then this is an excellent choice. It feels like the ultimate sit down and record your ideas type of guitar. You have all the tonal options, especially if you're trying to do some metal, some modern metal, this is great. I've been getting used to the neck profile, and I've been grabbing this guitar the most now whenever I have any 7-string ideas. The multiscale isn't as offensive as other multiscales I've played. I've had 0 effort trying to adjust to it. The resonance is great and very satisfying when I'm just plinking things out. And this might be crazy, but I can feel the Ibanez RG DNA deep inside this guitar. But what do you think? Do you think the new Alpha series from Ibanez is very cool? Or is it the Cybertruck of guitars? Comment down below, let me know what you think. If you want to continue the conversation, consider joining the Discord. If you want something cool to listen to, I am on all major streaming services, Hazy Productions. I do original songs, some video game covers, and as always, peace.